Okay, good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl. I'm here with my good friends, Catherine, Chris, Karen, and Christina. And maybe somebody else will join us. That'd be awesome. For those of you who are watching, if you would like to join us, all you have to do is get over to our Facebook group, which is just facebook.com/Mindset Mastery Collective, or you could just go to mindsetmasterycollective.com and it will direct you to our Facebook group. And then once you're in there, you can connect with us and then say, hey, I want to participate, and we will add you in. Or there's always links below the video on YouTube where it takes you to a page that tells you all about the different ways that you can participate with us. So that being said, today we're going to be talking about chapter 17. We're on 17? Yeah, chapter 17. We're studying the book The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And this chapter talks about using the slight edge in different areas of your life. That's what we were starting to talk about. I'll be honest, I only read a part of it this week. That's my granddaughter. She says hi. She's watching Mickey Mouse in the background. So anyway, it's talking about living the slight edge in chapter 17, and it actually kind of goes into depth on how some of the things that you can do to start heading yourself in the right direction. But before we start, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then just a quick disclaimer before we go forward, just for YouTube. I do have Mickey Mouse playing in the background. I know it's copyrighted, but my granddaughter's watching it. So what am I supposed to do? Don't delete my video, please, because of that. I'm not trying to infringe on any copyrights. Okay, guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, this is Catherine Clement, and I'm here in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm glad I didn't have both of my earbuds in for that. It only took out one eardrum. No, I'm just kidding. I have grandbabies. And it's funny because the little one, the youngest one is a girl, and she has that high-pitched, they call her pipes. Because like anything that if she doesn't get her way or whatever, like she hits those high notes, she's going to be a soprano singer one day. Good to be here with everybody.
I was waiting for everyone else. Hi, this is Christopher. Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Christina Irvin.
What's with the short intros? When that scream went out, it reminded me earlier, I've got a little Maltese here. They're always a mix. And she was sleeping and she was making little squeaks that I recalled hearing someone do during orgasm. And she was sleeping, and it was so funny to have such tiny little squeaks. And so in comparison with the loud squeal. And I'm from the Phoenix area of Arizona, soon to move north, which is where I'm really excited to go, up where it's cooler, the elevation's a little bit higher, and I can see the red rocks of Sedona. It's into a place called Cornville, Arizona. So one of these days, I'll be saluting out of there. Thanks.
I have friends who live in Cornville, Karen.
Would that be John? Oh gosh, we've got our.
No, I don't think you know them. They're very private people. They're not in the circles.
Well, I'm trying to think of our presidential runner. You know, our John Kane. He's got a place up there, so I guess that's not your friends.
No. All right, sorry, I had to step away there for a second. Yeah, she wants to talk so desperately. I mean, she just will stand there and she'll scream and blah, 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 blah. I mean, if she could articulate, she would be talking up a storm right now. But she gets excited, and that's what she does, is she just makes that loud noise, because that's all that will come out at this point. She doesn't know how to articulate yet, but she gets high. She says hi a lot. You know, I've come home from work, and she'll see me, and she'll be like, hi. I'm like, hi. It's awesome. So anyway, guys, let's see. Living the Slight Edge, chapter 17. So this first part, it's interesting. Some of the little stories that he shares are just interesting to me. This one, he's talking at the beginning. He's talking about football coach. Which one is he talking about? Max McGee. Nope, that wasn't it. Who is Vince Lombardi? First time Lombardi came out. Oh, okay. He says something to the effect of he, at the beginning of his coaching each year, whatever, he takes a football and he says, guys, this is a football. Starting at the very, very, very basic beginning of working with his team. And of course, his team starts out and they're like, you're going too fast for us, coach, you know. And so I found that really funny. But you know, I think that we have heard in the past and other things that we've studied, kind of like when he refers down a little bit further, that Zen Buddhists call it the beginner's mind. Assume nothing when you first start out. I think a lot of times that we get involved with things and we think we know everything before we even get started. Did you guys read the book? What is that called? The Warrior, The Way of the Warrior. Is that right? That's not right. It sounds, you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. That was a really interesting book, and it kind of addresses that in the beginning part of it, because he thought that, you know, he was like an Olympic athlete, and then he meets up with this guy who is kind of more of a Zen master, and the Zen master keeps tripping him up because he thinks he knows everything, and he doesn't, you know, not when it comes to our inner workings and, you know, enlightenment and just becoming a better version of ourselves. You know, so he talks about start with, you know, the basics. Start at the basics. We make things so hard for ourselves sometimes, don't you think? But what do you guys think about starting at the beginning when we're trying something new?
That's totally key. Like, even when you're like learning something more advanced, like, or like obviously you're in some very advanced, but like, it's about retaining or understanding what we're trying to learn. So between the teacher and who's being taught, like, it has to be clear that what's being taught is downloaded, or that you understand what's being said or where it's going. Now that I think back to the Tao Te Ching, I see why that could be frustrating, because it's like a very mysterious book, you know. It's hard to figure out.
I've been doing a lot of thinking. I don't know. I haven't been back in the Mindset Mastery Collective since I wrote some notes yesterday, going ahead and recommending the Absolute Happiness book. But I think that that's apropos to that. Or what book oh, you can't hear me. Did you hear anything I said? You did. Okay. I must have had a loud voice then. Boy, do I breathe loud. When we did the Tao Te Ching, we lost so many good people from the group. And I think a lot of it was they were afraid they were going to lose their religion if they paid attention to the Tao Te Ching, which I think, you know, going through it, it's not threatening at all. I mean, indeed, Chris, it's mysterious. And there's a lot of thinking to it, but it's not threatening at all. And I think if people were to look at it, especially since the book, Absolute Happiness, you can get for free right now as a download, so that you can read it for free, and you can highlight it, and you can put comments on it, and you can copy to your own page, so you can for me, I had to make really huge letters out of some things. And, people need to kind of give it a chance, get into it, not just say, whoa, that second sentence petrifies me. I'm threatened. Anyway, so that's, yeah, I hope that made sense.
That's a great point, Karen, bringing up the what you were talking about, the folks that kind of left us when we started the Tao Te Ching, and that's it right there. That they didn't have that beginner's mind. They didn't have an open mind. That's what I'm saying. You've got to have an open mind to allow other things to come in to help you grow. And what's really interesting to me is, for a long time, I was very anti-religion for a long time, because I was raised in a Christian school that was just really strict, and they were really dictatorship, and their whole attitude about all of that just really turned me off about religion for the longest time. And so, but then we got into the Tao Te Ching, and what's interesting about that is it started bringing me back around to being able to embrace more about many religions that I had turned off from because of what I thought I knew about them, And so then when we started the Tao Te Ching, and I started seeing some of the correlations between what was really being said in the Bible from, my studies, because I memorized all kinds of Bible verses way back when. I never really understood them. I thought that I did. But it took me learning another philosophy, another way of looking at life, to really absorb the value that I had gained in my Christian school years. So having that open mind is so key in so many areas of our lives. And so yeah, I'm sad that those folks missed out on gaining those wonderful insights. But I mean, everybody has their own paths, and I completely respect that. So I know they're where they need to be, and we're where we need to be. It's just sometimes when you see things like that, it's sad. So yeah.
Well, if I could say just a bit more, I'm sad for them like you are. But in a self-serving manner, I'm a lot more sad for me, because I didn't get too much. I didn't get too much of those people. And each of them contributed so much when they did share, that I really was hoping that I would have a long-term opportunity with them to. Oh, I thought, what the? That's my phone, sorry. Okay.
I agree with you, Samantha, on the Bible verses. When I was a kid, I was forced to memorize them, and you had to go to Bible school and all that stuff. I didn't understand what they meant. I just memorized them like I did the alphabet or whatever. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I do have a lot of Christian friends on Facebook that post verses from the Bible and stuff. So I get to see plenty of them. And it's interesting how differently I interpret the Bible, I think. I'm sure each person has their own interpretation. I mean, that's how it works. That's how anything works. Self-development books, or, any kind of video, or whatever it is, depending on the day and what your situation is, it's going to speak to you in a different way. You can read the same book, 18 times, and it's going to tell you something different. You're going to pick up on something different, and you're going to see it in a different light because of whatever recent experiences you're dealing with or whatnot. But I think it's much, even I've been watching this, you guys know I've been watching this show. I finally finished watching all the episodes. This thing called Resurrection. And it was about the war basically between the Turks and the Templar Knights, you know, back in the day. And it is talking about like the whole, you kind of fall in love with this whole tribe of people who are Muslim. And it's interesting because I've never necessarily studied, I've never really thoroughly studied any of the religions deeply, because they, you know, they don't hold that much interest for me, really. Like, I see the truth in all of them, and then I see a lot of bullshit that men throw at men, with not men as in just male, but, you know, human people, like, throw their power trip in there. But it was interesting, and I kind of caught it afterwards, and I'm like, oh wow, because what their Quran or whatever their book is called that they go by, like their promise to God is to stand for righteousness and take out oppression or oppressors. And if you think about it, like I love my country. I love the veterans. Okay, I have to preface all this shit because you got to be politically correct. I'm not against anything that we do, right? But we are very oppressive as a country. We go out. Well, I can't say I'm not against anything we do because I am. We go out and we oppress other countries. We go out and we oppress other people. And so their Bible, for lack of a better term, you know, is telling them that their duty to God is to take those people out that oppress other people. So it kind of gave me this whole other perspective on that, and where some of these terrorist sects come from. I mean, again, they're just following what they feel is their duty to God, their God, and what they've been told. And that's why it's so damn important to think for yourself, you guys. Like, that's why we're on here, because you have to learn to not just take what you've been spoon-fed and taught to memorize, and you have to actually explore and think about some of these thoughts and ideas, and figure out where you stand on them, basically. This chapter, which we haven't quite touched on yet today, this chapter talks about 5 or 6 different areas in your life, you know, where he's asking you to physically write out your dreams, assign some very specific, you know, be very specific about those things, and then assign a timeline. And then you're going to have a plan, you know, you're going to start your plan, but he doesn't want like a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 100-year plan. He just wants a, like the first step, because once you get started, everything changes. So it really doesn't do any good. I mean, you can visualize how you want things to roll, but as far as like physically writing out plans, it all changes after you take the first step. So just a very simple plan, step, and then the action step that you're going to take every day, the slide edge action step that you're going to take to accomplish that plan and those dreams. And thinking for yourself when you're doing this is really important. Like, you shouldn't be writing down somebody else's dreams for yourself, or, you know, you have to kind of learn your own personality, what motivates you, what doesn't. Otherwise, it just winds up being like a New Year's resolution. You know, it's there one day and gone the next. But I'll be honest and say, you know, I only got to 1 because it was just too much writing. So I'm going to have to buck it up and force myself to like sit down and do this writing. But this is, you know, I say I'm sharing that because even though we're on here every week, and even though we talk about mindset constantly, like, don't feel that it's not a struggle. The struggle is real. You know, I deal with mindset issues every day. I have to remind myself every day if I get negative over something, or if I get resistant to something. One of the things that we've talked about with every book that we've read is it doesn't do really much good to read it if you're not going to like implement what it's telling you to do. in your own way. I'm not telling you to be a robot. I do want you to think for yourself. But, I came up to a lot of resistance when it came to writing this stuff down. I'm like, this is too much shit to write down. Like, I don't want to write all this down. But that's my own that's just my resistance. And I need to just buck it up and do it. Because I don't know what it is, but there is something about physically writing that changes something in the matrix or sets things into motion. I don't understand it.
I think he mentioned something about that maybe in the previous chapter. Yeah, he does. He says something about writing it down because it brings it into our physical realm. It takes it from the mind and brings it into the physical. And I also notice that, I think that it helps if you are a visual learner too. Or some kind of something, because it takes that whatever you're inputting. Maybe for me, like in this class that I'm taking, it's video, but then I also have this big old Mambo book. And for me, like what you were saying, when you revisit something, you gain something new out of it. And so I'll watch the video, and then I'll go back and I'll watch it again, and I'll take notes. And then I look for the information in the book. And it's like 3 different methods for getting that information into my brain for the parts of my brain that learn it in a different way. And I think that that's a huge thing. I mean, now for some people it may work differently. Maybe you read it and then you watch a video, or maybe you read it and you do a PowerPoint. I mean, who knows? It's different for everyone. Or maybe you have to listen to it via an audio book instead. I've actually been looking for an audio book on this, but they don't have one because it's it's like a teaching manual. So you'd think at some point maybe, but but that's powerful, and I think that also comes back to having that open mind as well, because if I didn't have any kind of open mind into the thought process of thinking, okay, maybe I could gain another insight if I do it differently, or if I just go back and listen to it again, because I've experienced that sometimes where I'll go through something and then I just will be like, I already read it. I don't need to do it again. Hey, come here. Okay. I think she's upset about breakfast, but Mom and Dad are down here now. I'm going to go ahead and mute out. If we want to go ahead and start talking about this first one about health, or Christina.
So speaking of the 2 themes of open mind and thinking for yourself, I have a whole different perspective on this chapter. My take, even in life, I think one of my kind of new commandments, if you will, in life has really been to be open to exploring something. And so when I'm met with a lot of resistance on something, then that's a trigger that, okay, there's something else underneath it. First of all, I'm like you, Catherine, all this writing down all this stuff was not cute for me. But upon exploration, I understood that I was not in the space to be doing all that. I got all this stuff going on, and the last thing that I wanted to do was to be trying to go through all this stuff and come up with all these goals on all this stuff and make all these micro commitments and all this stuff. Like I just didn't, which brings me to one of my number one reasons why I don't do a whole bunch of goal planning for months and years and all this stuff, because for me, and it's just for me, it's not effective. And the reason that it's not effective is because I'm still in my process of learning myself and learning what I really want and how I want to achieve it and all those things. And for me, all of all the teachings that say you gotta set goals, and then you gotta put timelines around this, and you gotta do it like this, and you gotta do it like that, I feel restricts my ability to envision what I want for whatever the particular thing is, because we live in a world that makes us that forces us to make a whole bunch of micro commitments when we haven't even evaluated if we want to do those things, how we want to do, like what we want it to look like. We just make those commitments because the world says, well, you should make a goal to get up at 5 a.m. every morning and do a meditation and write your affirmations and da. Well, hell, I don't want to be up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. What I want to do is be asleep at 5 a.m. on a Saturday, you know? And I want and so I give myself the permission to do that. So for me, I'm open to exploring how I feel about those things. And certainly that points out certain areas of my life where there may be some emotional, mental, physical, spiritual trauma, all of the above trauma that I need to now go take another step forward when it feels good to do so. But I think the one goal that I've definitely established in my life is that I am no longer forcing myself to do a damn thing that doesn't feel good in the moment. And I'm not going to succumb to the doubt, guilt, shame, and worry that comes along with everybody saying that I should do these things and I should move here and I should do it that way when I really don't want to. The willingness to be open to receiving my own self cues that I'm downloading from God is very important. And I think that's the one thing that I'm committed to for sure, where this whole goal setting comes in.
I think that's a great point, Christina. You know, we kind of touched on that last week when we were talking about, because this chapter 16 talked a lot about setting goals and this is how you should do it and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I kind of talked about my process that it didn't work that way. And that, you know, for me, it kind of worked in a completely different order. When it came to things, because I kind of looked back on my life and I was like, okay, well, when I achieved this great thing in my life, how did I do it? Did I write it down and create a vision board? No, I didn't do that. It was completely different. I felt it within myself that was going to happen. And so then every day I just took steps to make it happen. And, you know, and I think that what you're saying there about knowing yourself is super, super key to all of this. And I mean, sure, for someone who doesn't know themselves and they just need some kind of a path to take, they just are looking for an answer, then I think it's great for them to do things exactly maybe how a book says, because then they can do those steps and recognize, okay, this is working for me, this is not working for me. I like what it says here, but I don't like that. This I can implement, that I can't, you know, and that's huge. That's so huge. So thanks for bringing that up, Christina.
Amen, 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 amen. A-M-E-N, amen. Christina and Samantha. I just think that's so key. I mean, I have bucked, you've heard me, it's been a while since I've talked about this, but I have bucked this idea that, you know, you grind, you stay up all night, you just, you know, go. I mean, I remember, I'm sorry if I'm talking way too loud. I remember someone on the Think and Grow Rich call, I don't know, probably a couple years ago now, say, I haven't slept for like 3 weeks. And I thought, you know, I mean, he was one of the major exemplars at the time. And it was like, oh my gosh, I want to come through and throttle you right now. I mean, there's just so many things that we need to do in our lives. And when you're in your 60s, if you're thinking that you hop on the internet and you're going to build a business and you're going to do a life and you've got to do it like somebody 18 years old, I think he was like 39, you know, you just can't swallow what everybody else says. You just can't. You have to learn how to go inside. And for me, you know, living with as a pleaser personality and with all the direction from all the outside for so long, it can take a long time to learn to go inside. And I don't know how people do it without masterminds. I mean, we need to have help from other people. And one of the things that I really buck against is sorry. I noticed the full moon at about, I don't know, I think it was 6 o'clock. It was getting light enough that I could open my blinds and peek out my curtain, and the moon's already waning. I mean, my sister's been talking about this full moon and how beautiful, and I thought, well, I'm going to take a peek this morning. Well, it's already waning. I mean, it's just got a big whack out of it. And I thought, well, that's okay. I still howled at the moon this month. You know, I keep trying to get out of that mode. I think sometimes I'm done. But man, I was wailing last night, you know, and part of it is I am downright offended that I was taught, that I was conscripted, that I was, oh, there's another C word I'm trying to think of. You know, when I was growing up, I was just so compelled to this idea that I belong to the only true church. You know, there's nothing more there's nothing more confining in your life, I think, than to think you've already got it all. You already know it all. You don't need to listen to anybody outside of your circle because they have nothing to contribute, because you know it all. I am truly offended by that. Sorry. You can run me out down on a rail. I'll try to keep quiet from now on. I mean, you know, about that.
No, don't. You're right. You're absolutely right, Karen.
Samantha, you said something that also I want to just reiterate, and that is, if you don't know where to go, and you're just looking for some direction, and you need like a plan and a little path or whatever. Again, for me, the first step, the first must do in order to be successful and fulfilled is to really explore yourself. Because I'm sorry, when I take a plan that someone else does, I hit that wall of burnout within 2 weeks for sure, if I even make it to 2 weeks. And it's all because it's disconnected from me. I'm doing what works for them, and and I would argue that if I were to sit down and talk with them a little while and actually have dialogue with it, I don't know how effectively it's working for them. I've found when I actually talk to people. So when I'm coaching and training or just giving my 2 cents on something, I'm like, I start with, well, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? And when a person has this blank look, that's the key to me, that they don't need to go to step 2 of writing down 5 things and doing 3 things, because they're going to get to the overwhelmed stage. One becomes overwhelmed with trying to make a bunch of decisions when you don't even know where your core, where your start is, where your North Star is. I don't even understand why. I don't know. So this whole chapter for me is like a non-starter in the form that it's in.
You know, I like what you're saying there, and I think that this would be very similar as if you know, you told somebody, here, you're going to go to college and you're going to study all these things, and you have to do it this way, and you have to do that, and blah, 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 and you're going to, you know, this is what you're going to do, and just expect them to be successful exactly like that. When, you know, when you show up at college and they have books like this, you know, that are so huge, and all these classes, and you're expected to learn all this information. I'll tell you what, if somebody had told me at any point, here, you're going to study all these things and you have to know all this stuff, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Not in a million years. But yet here I am with this book, right? This obnoxiously huge book, and I am feeling driven to learn all the information in that book because I have a reason that is out in the future. I want to make a career change, and this interests me, right? And so when you have an interest in something and you have something else that is driving you, then you can go and make your priorities with you. You can decide to get up a little bit early if that's how you think that you're going to be able to accomplish it. Or you can go to bed a little bit late, or you can work an all-nighter if you want to. You know, Karen, when you were talking about the folks that were like, oh, the guy that's not slept in 3 weeks, I'm like, you know, I could not do that if I didn't have something that was really driving me. And I can see that person obviously has something that he really wants to accomplish that is driving him to go nonstop. However, he probably would be much more effective if he just gets some sleep, you know? I mean, because there's been times in my life too where I'm just like, God, why is it dark already? I have so much I need to get done, you know? And I just want to keep on going and going and going. And, but it was because that was important to me at the time. And when we look at this chapter, and it talks about all these different aspects of health and happiness and relationship and personal development, finances, career, your impact on the world, we have to decide for ourselves which thing in this list is actually important to us right now. Because if none of these things are important to us right now, then doing the exercises, writing out the things is pointless, because then we're just wasting time. But if, for instance, like right now, my health has been on my mind recently. You know, I've gained a little bit of weight over the holidays. I'm feeling less physically strong. I am, you know, there's these different aspects of my health that I'm just not happy with. And I've come to the point where I'm ready to do something about it, right? And so for me, filling out a little bit of something in this written part and just kind of establishing in my mind, okay, what do I really want to accomplish here, is important. Now, when I get down to, you know, one of these other areas that like my impact on the world, well, you know, I feel like I'm already kind of doing something with the Saturday Morning Mastermind. So no, I'm like doing that. I'm enjoying it. And I'm liking how I've got it going. You know, I don't feel like I need to write anything out, establish a goal, you know. And even with the health one, I don't really necessarily feel like I must write something out, because it's already in my head and it's already something that's becoming a priority in my life. And so then I just need to think about it each day of the things that I'm doing and know that, okay, I liked how he talked about in this part where he goes, this kind of came up, and I was like, oh, that's a great idea. He refers to the let's see, the to be or not to be, that quote from Shakespeare, and he says, you know, that's a great question, and you know, if you ask yourself that, you know, each time you go to take a bite of food, to be or not to be, because he's referring to that food and the impact it has on your health. And if you're eating healthy, then you're creating more life with yourself. If you're eating less healthy, then obviously you're dooming yourself to an unpleasant, you know, whatever. So he's like, to be or not to be. Am I going to eat this Reese cup that is pointing me down the direction of the curve down, or am I going to eat my broccoli and head to the curve that points up, right? So that, for me, I was like, oh, okay, I got to start asking myself that every time I go to put something in my mouth, or I'm getting ready to make some kind of a food or whatever. So that was helpful for me. And so, but it comes down to those priorities for ourselves. You know, what is important to you right now in your life? What are you working on? What are you thinking about working on? Is it important for you to write it down and in order to get yourself motivated every day? Or can you just simply, every time you come to yeah, you know, go this way or go that way, can you just say to be or not to be, and that helps you? I mean, everybody's different. So we all got to do what we have to do for our own selves to reach those milestones in our lives that we want to reach, right?
Wait, can you repeat the last sentence, Samantha? I was following, but can you repeat the last part? To reach what we want to.
The milestones, like, you know, to reach the milestones in our life that we want to reach,
Yes.
we have to decide. I don't know what I just said. I have to go back to the replay. I was basically saying, you know, you know, whatever the milestone is you want to reach in your life, you got to decide what's important to you right now and what you can do to make that happen. I mean,
yeah, that totally
I'm sorry,
makes sense.
was Bailey talking so loud you couldn't hear me?
No, I got it. I wasn't concentrating enough. I apologize. Anyway, You know, it reminds me of this TED Talk I saw. And this lady was talking about setting goals and then creating a new habit or doing something new. And one thing she was saying was, every single time we go to do something new or do a new habit, we're always not going to want to do it. We basically go to default all the time. We're saying, I'll do it when I want to. I'll do it when I feel comfortable. You are never going to feel comfortable with any of it. It's always going to be, I can't hear you, you're on mute, Samantha. But, it's just like, most of the stuff that we want to do, like on a day-to-day basis, like basically like you don't feel comfortable. I mean, I think you can get motivation and start feeling better about things and things feel good, but to take on new habits and do new things, you sometimes have to stretch beyond your comfort zone. I don't think life's all easy breezy, or setting new goals or doing new things. That's a challenge.
I do agree with that, but I will say though that if you're motivated to do it, if you have that motivation or that desire within yourself to actually do something, you've gotten to that point where you're like, okay, I have to make a change. It's harder if you haven't gotten to that point yet. If you're just telling yourself you should, then it's not going to happen. But if you're ready to do it, you're actually ready to do the thing, then it's easier even if it's hard. Because like with me and doing this, the only way I was going to be able to do this is if I got up early, because in the morning is the only time where everybody else is still asleep and I can stay focused and I can do the thing. And so for me, I got to get up at 5:15 in the morning in order to do that before I have to go to work. But if it was something that I really wasn't ready to do, I wouldn't be getting up. It's so easy to just be like, I don't feel like it. I'd rather just keep on sleeping, because truth is I would rather just keep on sleeping. But right now, that desire within myself to create this change or to make this change is stronger than my desire to keep on sleeping. And that's where I feel like the key is that you've got to be to the point where you're ready to make that change.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
I see a little nuance in, because I agree with what you're saying, both of you, but I will say this. There is getting ready doesn't mean that, there's no fear or whatever, but it does kind of mean you're at a place of dissonance, and you're at a place of willingness to resolve that dissonance. And you're at a place of willingness to commit to the process of resolving that dissonance. Like, that's how I see it for myself. And if when I'm not ready to do something, what I've learned about myself is actually when I explored the process, I realized, really, it's not so much that I'm not ready. It's that I have doubt that I can achieve it in the time frame that I have now chosen to receive as what should be my timeline. Why? Because every YouTube video I look at says that I should do it in 90 days, right? Or I worry about how other people are going to perceive me and what they're going to think about me. I have a little bit of shame in admitting that I didn't do this the way I should have or gotten a result. Oh, wow, should have. What does should have mean? So it still goes back to the process of exploring. And in my mind, I can't subscribe to the notion of I'll never do it if I have to wait till it feels good, or if I'm ready, because I'll never do it. No, for me, that's a trigger of, okay, Christina, it's time to go deeper, baby. Like, there's some stuff underneath there, right? That it's time to really resolve. And resolution does not mean I have a solution that is concrete, sequential, blah, blah, blah. It means I'm at a place within myself then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm okay with saying, you know what? I've done as much as I can do right now. I'm going to put it on the shelf. The Lord will give me a signal when it's time to revisit this. And also, Samantha, because this is going to be my summation or whatever for the call. To what you were saying about, I'm ready to touch the health stuff right now. So good, girl, so good. Because you get this. Everybody says one of the books that you have to read as an entrepreneur is The Slight Edge, and he gives you this laundry list of all these 10 things that my girl Catherine was like, this is too damn much shit to be writing down. Right? You hit overload. Like, who the hell has it? I don't have personally right now in my life the capacity, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual capacity and bandwidth to go through every last one of them things and come up with some goals and write it down and commit to it. I just don't. That's overwhelming to me. That is sabotaging my progress. So I'm with you with taking it. Here's this one thing I'm going to chip off. I'm just going to chip it off.
Were you coming out, Chris? Okay. So this is what I find life so fascinating, you guys, because, you know, we're kind of like, and we touched on this earlier, for those that maybe haven't watched us up until now, when we first started this group, we focused on very, you know, traditional, classic, basic, self-development, business type books. And when we finish a book, or a couple weeks before we finish a book, we start voting on other books. And we wound up, the majority voted on a more spiritually based book. And we had some members that decided that they didn't want to go that route. So we're kind of like the sort of little spiritual group, I guess, that kind of like went forward. And being like, I question whether I'll ever be in an intimate relationship with someone again, because one of the reasons is because I am so spirit led. Like, if God says something in my ear for me to do, I go do it. And it doesn't matter what that other person thinks or like how it affects them, or, you know, and that's why it's better for me just to stay by myself with a dog, because I have to do that stuff. And what if, you know, like, we're all connected. And I do believe we have a hive mentality as humans. I mean, I've studied it in like insects and primates and different things, but call it hive mentality, collective consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Like, we're all connected energetically, right? And there is this divine timing of things. I don't understand why, but I know that it's there. And so what if, when this book tells us you have to write down 20 freaking things that none of us have time to write down, what if our resistance to that, or to anything for that matter, is not us being lazy or unmotivated or not serious, taking our business like a hobby instead of a business? You know, you hear all this shit all the time. What if it's not that? What if it is that as energetic beings, our bodies are aware that the pieces in the matrix are not quite right? The divine timing is not quite right. And because I find the most incredible things, I mean, yeah, I pushed myself through nursing school and 20 years of nursing. Like, I'm really good at pushing myself, making myself do things. But the really miraculous things that have happened in my life have been, they just manifest. Like, they just come out of nowhere. They come out of a dream, or, you know, whatever. And they come very easy. It's not grueling, you know, forcing myself, blah, 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 blah. At the same time, like, I just had an amazing aha moment yesterday. You know, we all doubt. We have our moments of doubt, our moments of, little lapses in faith is what it boils down to, which I don't know why I would ever have that. Like I guess I kind of beat myself up over that, because I know I'm so blessed, and I know I'm so divinely led, and I know about this divine timing, and I know that shit doesn't make sense, and then all of a sudden it does. And that's kind of what happened yesterday. Like I was like, what? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I where I'm at? When, you know, my dream is over here. What's this part? And it was revealed to me, like, no question. Like it was just put out there in front of me, and I was like, oh shit, that's why, you know. And then and once I got that, like once God showed that to me, like I'm okay. Like I'm not going to be in the stressful place. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure I'll get stressed again, like shit happens, but I'm not going to be to that point where I was before, because now I see the purpose and I see why I'm where I'm at. And if I wasn't where, and this is the best part about it, you guys will love me and appreciate this, I hope. Because sometimes I beat myself up over the mountain man. So for those of you that don't know, I have this mountain man personality. And it's just like, no, snap the whip kind of thing. And I kind of beat myself up over that. And what I realized is that is exactly that aspect of my personality. And for lack of a better word, my set of balls, and to say, you know, anything that I set my mind to say, is why I'm where I'm at. And if I weren't where I was at with that aspect of my personality, like things could have been bad. You know, so it's really good that I have that. I mean, it is an abrasiveness that some people find very distasteful and don't like it, and I don't care anymore. Like now, that gift was revealed to me. I mean, I've seen it. You know, it saved my life many times, literally. Like so as you're exploring yourself and you're thinking about, you know, why you believe what you believe and why you act the way you act, and you identify these different aspects of yourself. Those are God-given. That's what I'm trying to get to here. I guess I could have made it a lot shorter. Those are God-given to you for a reason. And I don't think, yes, we're going to feel resistance to things, but I don't think that resistance is always what these books tell us it is. I think that we are divinely tuned in, and we know when to move forward and when to not. So love you guys. I'll shut up now.
Well, I'll tell you, this is why I like everybody on. And Christina, I like you on so much. I just wish you could be with us all the time. And I know that none of us can be here all the time, but we just spark each other so much, and I gain so much when I hear all. I'm sorry. This little Malty, can you see? Can you see her? She's she goes insane sometimes. She goes absolutely crazy. She's got this hot little tongue. She likes to give little puppy kisses, little, what is it? Puppy smell, puppy. Anyway, it is so fun. Anyway, just come as much as you can, everybody.
Well, we are at the top of the hour, guys. So unless somebody has a final thing to kind of wrap up for today, we're going to close out. Chris, any final words?
I was unmuting myself there. No, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thanks for letting me be on today. And it was nice to be a part of this. Thank you.
Awesome. Love you guys. Okay, so real quick, just remember, if you haven't already, and I think you all have, is voted on the next book, because we only have one chapter left. Let's look at this. It's just chapter 18, right? Yep, chapter 18. So next week will be the last week of this book, and so we need to have another book to get started. I think generally we take like a week off to just have a breather in between our books and to give everybody an opportunity to buy the next one. But yeah, we need to have this voted on by next week, or just decided. So I'll take a look at the poll, and for anybody else that wants to add their thoughts to which book we study, go ahead and jump in there and add your thoughts or comment or vote or whatever it is, and then we'll just decide. So, all right, guys,
I'm excited with the vote count as it is so far. Like, I hope it holds up.
Right. Well, and I think it will, Christina, because you've mentioned that the Soul Sunday book a few times. So,
Yeah,
and
I'm really excited to go through it with a group.
Right. Okay. And then and of course, if not, we can always come back around to it too. And same thing, Karen, is if we end up doing the Soul Sunday book and then we want to come back around to the happiness one, of course we can do that also. So I was looking at the Audible listing for the Soul Sunday one. It's only like 4 hours and so many minutes, so it must be a fairly short book anyway. So Awesome. Okay, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend, and we'll see you next week on Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.
Bye.